Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So you may be surprised, I'm actually already changing up the exhaust. It's not because I don't like it, but I did mention in another exhaust video when I installed the Ink Customs muffler delete that I was thinking about trying the Ink Customs Midpipe. Now I actually ended up ordering one. I ordered it a little bit different setup as to what I have currently, which is the Active AutoWorks single non-resonating midpipe. And there's a couple reasons as to why I'm changing up. I'll go over them in a little bit, but what I need to do first is actually remove the Active AutoWorks single midpipe because someone already purchased it. They're actually picking it up tomorrow, so I need to get it off the car. The car has been sitting in here for quite a few weeks. So the colder months are here, it's raining out and everything, so I really haven't had time or wanted to drive this car in the bad weather, so it's kind of been hanging out here. But I'm gonna go ahead, get the car cover off, get everything jacked up, and get all ready. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the active single midpipe, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to pull it off to the side here. I'm going to take some measurements, and the main reason is because I want to compare between the active and the new Inked Customs single midpipe. I'm going to be pairing that with the Inked Customs muffler delete. I was trying to have the Inked Customs midpipe here and delivered before or at the same time as I was removing the active single midpipe because I wanted to do a side-to-side comparison. Someone actually reached out to me for the active midpipe and they wanted it right away, and it was a good deal, so it was kind of hard to turn down. So this video obviously is going to have both in it, but I wanted to take some measurements on this one first before it gets to the new owner, and then we'll go ahead once the new inked one comes in, which should be this week to be honest. We'll take measurements on that one so you guys can see the comparison, the size difference and everything, just the overall quality, and just, you know, how much different the design is and how much better I think it's going to sound like. So let me go ahead, let me get this car jacked up, let's get everything off, and then I'll catch back up with you guys in a little bit. All right guys, so we got the active single non-resonating midpipe off of the car. So I'm going to put the car down because the new midpipe is not going to be in for a few days. It's supposed to be in this week. But I wanted to kind of point out how cool the coloring is on the active single. As you can see, it kind of has a golden hue now after many heat cycles. This thing actually has less than like, I don't know, 500-600 miles on it. So it's pretty darn new, but really cool. I love when exhaust gets some really nice coloring after it gets used. Now I was very happy with this single midpipe paired with the competition muffler as well as the Ink Custom muffler delete sounded fantastic. However, I'm a little bit of an exhaust nut and I really like to try as many different things to find that specific sound I'm after. Now we all know the S55 motor is not the greatest sounding engine in the world, but I know it can sound very good with the right exhaust setup. Now I'm currently still running the stock downpipes. Those will be changed in the future, but I wanted to get a really nice catback system that sounded really good, that a lot of people can just purchase and just enjoy without having to do a ton of work, you know, with tunes and changing downpipes and all that, whether going catted or catless and all. So kind of starting off simple, you know, I just did the midpipe, and then I paired it with the muffler delete from Ink Customs, and now I'm going with a full Inked Customs catback. However, I'm going with a little bit different setup as I mentioned earlier. As you can see, this is the non-resonated version, but I went with the resonated single midpipe from Ink Customs, and there's a reason why. Now, it's very hard to tell on camera of what I'm talking about, but the main reason why I didn't like this setup 100%, and it's something that I was going to keep forever, is because there was some buzzing and some higher RPM rasp that I wanted to get rid of. Now, it does sound good, don't get me wrong. However, in the cabin, you can definitely hear some annoyances. I don't want to say annoyances, but some parts of the tone that I wasn't crazy about. And what I've kind of come to a conclusion about is that this piping is actually smaller than the OEM diameter midpipe piping. So now this is larger, obviously, because it's a single, but back here, I'm gonna take some measurements in a second, but this back here is actually smaller than stock. And with the Ink Customs, it is actually a larger diameter piping all the way through. So we're actually getting more diameter with a similar setup, although I'm getting the resonated version to get rid of that annoying buzz and that higher RPM rasp. I think it's going to sound really good. I think it's going to reduce and completely eliminate the little amount of drone that I did have with this setup. And I think it's going to sound very good. I'm looking for a super deep tone because I think these cars sound very good when they're really deep. Now, to be completely honest, I do not think the new setup, the Ink Custom resonated setup, is going to be quieter. I think it's going to be as loud, maybe even louder, because of the larger diameter. And also another reason why I wanted to change up was because of the connection points. There was a few different connection points. As you can see, I have the clamps that are supplied by Active Auto Works. So when you cut your OEM muffler, these just slip on here, and then your stock exhaust slips into here and you clamp it down, and that's how you get your connection. Now with the Ink Customs, it's gonna be hard to see, but underneath, I'm actually having to run smaller adapters. So as you can see, this is the exhaust, but then on the back right here, there's a clamp because there is an insert that goes down to a smaller diameter to fit the active here. So now that I'm gonna running the new Inked Customs Midpipe, I don't have to run those little adapters. It's just gonna slide directly into the inked muffler. So there's not gonna be like 15 connections here. It's just gonna be one single connection, less chance for leaks, better overall, just in terms of sound and everything and fitment. All right, so what I'm gonna do is take a measurement of the back connecting pipes and show you just how small these are. And then once the ink comes in, I'm going to show you the diameter of this as well. I will also show you the diameter of the section, the larger section over there, just so we can get a full comparison. But this is the main part here that we're going to be really changing the size of. All right, so let's take a diameter. From what I gather, it's around 2.5 inches. So there you go, actually a little bit less, which I believe from what I have gathered and what I've heard is actually smaller than stock. The diameter of this pipe, we are looking at about 8 inches. So hold on, let me get the thing. Yeah, so 8 inches for that diameter. Now let's go take the diameter of the actual larger part of the exhaust. So just to cross my T's and dot my I's, let me take a measurement over here as well, just so we can get a little bit better conclusion of the overall piping. Now this part on the inked is probably going to be around the same, but we will see. Yeah, this is around a little over 11 inches. Also, the bends on the connecting pipes here, I will show you on the new Ink Customs. They are way more gradual, whereas these are really sharp. So gradual bends in an exhaust are good. When you have something that bends super quick and there's a really sharp edge, that is a loss of power. So having something that's really smooth and a much better bend overall is not only going to sound better, but it's actually going to increase, or you can gain a little bit more power overall. So it'll be interesting to see, not only hear it, but feel if there's any power differences changing over to the full inked custom setup. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this car back on the ground. I'm actually going to disconnect the connecting pipes back here, get them in the truck, and I'm actually going to meet up with the new buyer of these tomorrow. So I got to get these in the truck and get it all disassembled. But I will catch back up with you guys a little bit later this week once the new midpipe comes in. And then we're going to see the beautiful workmanship of Patrick from Ink Customs. And I'm just going to show you just how much better that midpipe is and how much better this thing is going to sound. All right, guys, so it's actually a couple days later and the Ink Customs midpipe has arrived. I've been waiting for this thing for a couple of weeks. It comes all the way from Germany. Patrick, who owns Inked Customs, he builds all these by hand by himself. And obviously coming from over the pond takes a little bit longer than if you were to buy something obviously in the country. But my God, the quality, the craftsmanship is incredible on this piece. I mean, you guys know my muffler delete looks and sounds amazing, but this midpipe kind of just truly shows how amazing Patrick is at creating exhaust. The weld on this thing is absolutely beautiful. If you notice, it has a kind of frosted finish, and that finish is achieved by doing glass beading. So this goes into a machine and they do it by hand, and the whole entire thing gets glass beaded. My only regret is that I didn't get my muffler delete in the glass bead finish because it just looks absolutely beautiful. Granted, it's going to be under the car, you're not going to notice it, but it just, oh my God, it just looks so good. You also get a cross brace as well with the inked logo. You get some new nuts, thankfully, because of the ones that did come off my car. I noticed this, well, I talked about it when I was installing the Active Auto Works midpipe. I have them right here, so as you can see, they are pretty darn rusted, and I was thinking about getting a new set of these to install when I get this, but thankfully Patrick included some really, really nice brand new nuts to install to the downpipes. And man, I am so pleased with everything. The really cool thing about this as well is that it's going to slip straight into my muffler delete by Customs. So I don't have to do any crazy adapters or anything like I did with the Active AutoWorks mid-pipe. So these were the adapters that I was running over here for the Active. So as you can see, it slid right into the inked Customs muffler, the wider section, and then it dipped down to a much smaller diameter to fit into the Active, which I believe was about 2.5 inches or so, a little under. So very, very big change in terms of diameter, and that's going to change the sound, also the power overall. So as you can see, we got the flange connections up here that go right up to the stock downpipe or an aftermarket downpipe. You can get a downpipe by Customs as well, which we'll probably be doing in the future. But for now, just bolting it right up to the stock downpipe. And then it comes into the massive wide piece right here. And we got a V-clamp, which I love. I love V-clamps. Very, very easy to connect and install, but also great for the chances of no leaks. I really love V-bands. Then we come back here, we got the resonator, and then this is kind of where the cross brace goes. And then we got the connection points for the Y pipes, or the connecting pipes, I should say. This actually is cut before the diff. On the Active, it goes all the way pretty much past the diff up here, and then it connects. This actually is cut before the diff, so there's actually a longer connecting pipe here. To connect it right here, you can see they have the clamps, much like the ones I was running on the Active to the mid-pipe, or the muffler delete from Customs. These just slip right in here. Sorry, I'm doing this one hand. Slip right in here. You tighten that down, you're good there. And then these just slip directly into the muffler delete. And I have the exhaust clamps over here that was included with the muffler delete that goes on the end here and just clamps down right on the muffler delete. So that's how the connection is made. So no gaskets other than the downpipes up here, which is obviously a very, very normal thing, and obviously something that you have to do unless you go a custom route and you get V-BAMs there. But these are the OEM donut gaskets that are already on there. But man, oh man, this thing is beautiful. I am so pumped to get this on the car and see what it sounds like. Also, Patrick threw in a cool bottle opener as well. That will be put to use. Hopefully we won't have to use this while we're installing this. But let's go ahead and take some measurements of this so we can see exactly the differences in terms of diameter and sizing and all that. Was hoping that I had the Active AutoWorks single mid-pipe together, so I was able to compare it side to side. But the new owner of the single mid-pipe from Active really wanted it as soon as possible. And it was kind of a deal that I was just like, all right, I'm getting what I'm asking for it, so had to get it off the car and get it to him. But I'm glad I was able to get a few clips of that at the beginning of this video so you guys can somewhat do a comparison in the same video and see the sizing and all that. So let's go ahead, let's take our measurements and see how much wider and bigger and better this exhaust is. All right, so we are at the muffler side. This is the connection to the muffler. So let's take our measurement. Now, when we did the Active, I believe it was just under 2.5 inches. So if we look here, this is at a full 3 inches on the dot. And the whole diameter here as well, we are looking at about 9 3/4, maybe a little bit less than that, a little over 9.5. So definitely wider and bigger than the Active. All right, so now we are up by the downpipe connection here. So let's take a measurement of this big thing right here. So the opening on the downpipe connection pipe, the front of the mid-pipe, we are at about 3.5 inches. So if we take a measurement around this thing is absolutely massive. We are at just over 11 inches, so it's about 11.25 or so. So pretty darn massive. Also, a quick little detail on the other side of the mid-pipe where the resonator is, there's a cool little logo there. This is the side that's actually going to be facing down, so you're going to be able to see this once it is installed in the car. But very, very cool. I like that little detail, and also adds a little bit of rigidity to it as well. All right, guys, so it actually has been quite a few days. We had the holidays and Christmas and everything, so it got a little hectic and I wasn't able to get to installing that, but we're going to be doing that right now. I also picked up a battery tender. Now, I've been a big fan of C-Tech. I've ran them for years. I use it on my STI and previous cars, but I'm trying something different this time. I decided to go with the Noco Genius 10. This one can handle lithium batteries because the F80 M3 has a lithium battery. So I wanted to try this one out. A lot of people were saying it's great, and I believe it was actually on sale when I picked it up. Turn it on to the lithium setting right there, and it's been keeping my battery fresh and charged ever since. So I highly recommend that. I'll leave a link below if you guys are interested in picking that up. But since I haven't been driving the car much because of the winter weather and just crappy conditions, it's been sitting in here for the past 3 to 4 weeks, so I haven't had time to drive it. But so let's go ahead, let's get the inked mid-pipe on the car finally and hear what this thing sounds like. I'm probably not gonna do a full walkthrough. I'll probably just get a few clips of me underneath getting it on the car and everything, because I've actually done that before. I was actually waiting for my quick jack, as you can see over there. I did get the motor to be able to lift it, but I'm still waiting for the actual lifts, the actual jacks that slide under. Those were a couple days behind, so I should be getting them soon, but I'm impatient. I really want to get that on the car, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. All right, so I got the front piece in, but I just wanted to note the top nut on the passenger side. So this piping right here, the top nut, I can't even see it here, but that one, very, very hard to get to. There's not a lot of clearance, as you can see, between the two pipes. So you can't go between them like the stock exhaust or the Active Auto Works. These are super thick, and I can hardly even get my finger in between. So what I ended up doing was keeping this off the hanger, which it is right now, and then reaching my arm over here and threading it onto the downpipe stud there. Again, very, very hard to show you, but you can see the long extension that I have going to it, and I also have a swivel at the end of it. That is the only way that I was able to figure out a way to be able to properly tighten that nut down on top. That is the most pain in the butt one to get to, so keep that in mind when you're installing this, to put the top passenger side nut on first. Then you can go around and do the other three, but that one is definitely the most challenging just because of there's no clearance and this piping is so large. So I wanted to note that and show you the insanely long extension that I have going on here. So yeah. All right, so we got the first section all bolted down. The hanger is in, and everything is lining up beautifully. The top nuts, again, are a pain in the butt, but I was able to get to them with some long extensions. And I gotta say, I got some new Wera tools for Christmas. These things are absolutely amazing. Highly recommend them. A little on the expensive side, but I do recommend them. I'm still using my Cobalt sockets and all that stuff, but I'm slowly upgrading to Wera, at least most of the stuff. At least I'm going to try to. And I'm really, really happy. This thing is beautiful. Amazing. All right, let's move on to the second section, which is the part with the resonator. All right, so I got the resonated section in. Now I just have it kind of spaced with some old Cobb airline. Just decided to use that because I didn't want to use anything that would scratch it, just to kind of space it out to the brace right there. But I got the V-band on. I didn't tighten it down because I'm going to adjust obviously once I get back to the muffler section, but everything's fitting very, very nicely. I did have to bend up some of the heat shield on the bottom of the car here just to make a little bit extra clearance. I just wanted to be certain for the resonator. I don't think it would have hit if I didn't do that, but I wanted to be certain since I don't feel like getting back under the car. That metal heat shield stuff is really easy to bend. You just push it up, or you can use a wrench or something and just kind of push it out of the way. So just made a little bit extra clearance just to be certain. But now we can go back and connect it to the muffler back there. Sorry, kind of had to see. And then we can adjust everything, tighten it all down, and we'll be good to go. All right, guys, everything is installed, and I am super, super thrilled with the fitment of this thing. It is perfect. One of the things I really noticed was the clearance around the diff. Kind of hard to see, but perfect clearance around the diff on both connecting pipes, and it butted right up to my muffler delete, no problem. It's not at a weird angle or anything. Again, the only regret that I had that I mentioned earlier was not having the muffler glass beaded, but it's not a big deal. It's literally just a finish. It's not going to change the sound or fitment or anything like that. So, but yeah, I mean, maybe I can even find somebody locally to get this glass beaded. Super simple to take off. It's just with the hangers right there, and then the connecting points right over there. But otherwise, super thrilled. Everything fit perfectly. As I mentioned, I'll show you a little bit over here as well, so you guys can see the full picture here. The hardest part of the install was the connecting pipes to the downpipes up here, the top nuts that I was mentioning, but otherwise everything fits beautifully. The clearance on the brace right there is ample. It is not hitting anything. And I did the old shake the exhaust back and forth, making sure it wasn't hitting anything. And it's not at all, so it's not gonna vibrate or make any weird noises. But yeah, it is perfect. It doesn't hang too low. It tucks up very, very nicely, which I'm very pleased about. Now I just got to think about doing those downpipes up there. But for now, I think the mid-pipe and the muffler delete is perfect for what I'm looking for. So let's go ahead, clean up here, get the car back on the ground, then we'll go out for a little drive and you know, do a first cold start and everything. This car actually hasn't started, as I mentioned, in a few weeks, so it's gonna be a true cold start. It'll be interesting to hear what this thing is going to sound like with the new muffler or the new mid-pipe. But yeah, all right, let me kind of wrap things up and I'll catch back up with you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, so it has been a few days since I've installed the inked resonated mid-pipe on the car, and I've been driving around, kind of having some fun, getting to break in a little bit, seeing if there's any, change in tone and pitches and everything. I just wanted to give a good representation of what the car sounded like, not just throwing it on and going out for a few rips. I really wanted it to kind of break in and seal a little bit to make sure that it sounds exactly the way it should. So I need to do some adjustments of the fitment. I need to raise it up a little bit in the rear, which is not a big problem since they have the adjustable hangers. I haven't adjusted yet. I just threw it on the car, and with the holidays and everything, it's been really busy and I haven't had a chance to get back onto the car. But now that I have my quick jacks, I'm going to get that set up. I'm going to really dial in the fitment and get it perfect, just like I had it prior. Now, obviously, I mentioned how great the fitment was, how great everything just lined up, and how beautiful it looks under the car. And now let's talk about the sound. Is it exactly what I was after? Now, the previous setup with the Active AutoWorks mid-pipe with the inked muffler delete sounded amazing. It sounded very aggressive, super loud, and I really did enjoy it. However, as I mentioned, there was a few parts of the exhaust or the RPM range and sound that I wasn't crazy about. There was two things that kind of bothered me with that setup. One, it being a little too buzzy in a certain RPM range. It just kind of sounded funky. It sounded like something was almost broken, which it wasn't. It was just the nature of the S55 with the the setup that I did run. Again, it sounded great, but it's just something that kind of annoyed me. Anytime I hit that RPM range, I was like, this sounds a little funky. Number two was the rasp. Now, I do love rasp. On my E46, I love the rasp. I was one of the people that embraced it. I think it sounded cool. It was very unique to that specific motor. It was kind of one of those things that I really enjoyed, and hearing it on the S55, it was one of those things that I was like, okay, this reminds me a lot of my E46. However, the rasp on the S55, personally, I don't think sounds as good. So I wanted to get rid of that rasp that the S55 did have. Now, putting the resonated mid-pipe on here with the larger diameter, it kept the volume, but it got rid of the rasp. It may be kind of hard to tell on camera, but in person, it sounds really good. What I really like about this setup, it sounds much like a kind of refined German sports exhaust. It doesn't sound obnoxiously loud, but at the same time, it still has that volume that the Active setup had. But at the same time, it's not over the top. It doesn't sound obnoxious everywhere you go. And another thing that I really didn't like was the pops on the car. When you're decelling or you're changing gears or you're downshifting, you hear pops and bangs, which, can sound cool in their own way. I get it. But at the same time, it was all the time, because I always drive in Sport or Sport Plus, and that is when the pops and bangs kind of are prevalent. So when you are driving just kind of around town and everything and just cruising, those pops and bangs were just kind of obnoxious. If you're just trying not to be noticed and you just want to, drive around and get all these random pops and everything, it's kind of, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it draws attention that I personally didn't want. So now that the resonated mid-pipe on, it still does the pops and bangs, but they're not as prevalent, they're not as loud, they're not as obnoxious. They kind of tone down in terms of the deepness of it, so you definitely hear them. You were able to hear them in the FLYBYS and the revving and everything that I was just doing. So it does sound really good, and I'm happy that they're still there, but I'm happy that they're toned down. Now, is this going to be my final setup? I don't know. At this point, that's kind of what I was saying when I first put the Active mid-pipe on with the muffler delete. I was saying I was really happy with it. And then as time went on, I was like, maybe I'll change it up, make it a little bit deeper sounding and not as loud, not as obnoxious. And now here we are, we're changed up with the resonated inked mid-pipe. I'm really happy I have the full inked custom setup. Again, the fitment and quality is just out of this world, way better than anything I have ever installed on any car before. So I highly recommend picking one up if you're looking for a custom route. In the future, maybe we'll add a downpipe. I'm definitely going to stay catted just because of where I live and we have to deal with emissions and everything, and I don't want to deal with all that. Plus, I've had catless cars in the past, and while it is cool, it smells terrible, and I'm just not about that life anymore. I'm older and everything, and I just really don't care for that. The higher quality race cats that most people use in their exhaust these days, the GESI or the Jesse, whichever way you want to call it, there is minimal gains from going catless to a high quality cat. So like the 10 or 15 horsepower that I may gain going catless, it's not worth it to me. I'd rather just stay catted and just not deal with the problems that a catless car can have with emissions and just the smell and all that. I don't know, we'll see in the future, but for right now, I'm really happy with it. It's a exhaust that I can take out with my wife and go on dates and what have you, and just cruise on the highway and whatever, put my kids in the back, and it not be over the top or obnoxious. It's just a really nice custom setup without having to go with off-the-shelf parts and kind of sound like everybody else. And if you're looking for a high quality custom exhaust exactly to your spec, hit up Patrick from In Customs. Highly recommend it. The entire experience was amazing. Got me exactly what I wanted, and I can't say enough good things about them. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry this one was a little bit long, but I wanted to document everything, go over all the details, and explain everything. So if anybody's interested in this setup or my previous setup or what have you, you can have all the details here, and you guys can watch the video and understand where I'm coming from and why I change it up and all that. So if you guys have any questions at all, be sure to ask them below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple. I'll catch you guys in the next one.